Hey kids, I'm sure by now, as Power Apps developers, you have things that you do, like in every app. And so do I. And today I'm going to go through one that I have found is something that my users really like. It's a useful feature and one I think you'd appreciate. So today we're going to go over, clickable headers to sort galleries. Yeah, cool. Let's do that. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got. This is what we're going to build, and hopefully you'll find this useful. I find I'm doing it in more and more apps. So the scenario is, as I'm sure we all have, we have a gallery, we have our data, and we want to be able to present it in a way that users are familiar with. And probably the most asked for way in terms of familiarity, especially if you're coming from SharePoint, is the ability to have clickable headers to do automatic sorting of your columns. And of course, the gallery doesn't do that for you, doesn't even provide headers for you. So we as developers have to manufacture that. And if we go here, we see some basic information. But if we click the header, we see we have an arrow that shows what direction we're sorting in based upon which column we have. All right? Simple, straightforward, but extremely useful and something that, like I said, the users like. So let's go over how that is built, shall we? So if we shift to the unfinished screen, we see we have that same gallery. And as a quick look, our items is call items. Now, we're going to make use of the sort function, because why wouldn't we? But we're going to have to do a little bit of housekeeping first in order to prepare for this. So if we go to our app on Start, we'll see what I have done for this. First, of course, we do a clear collect to get our data. That's fine. But we're going to set up two variables. First is the sort column, and second is the sort direction, things we obviously need for our sort feature. We're going to start with sort column as blank, our default, right? Cool. Our sort direction, now the beauty of Power Apps is our variables can be almost anything. In this case, we are doing a sort order as a variable. And that's going to be used, obviously, in our sort function as the direction that we're going to sort. But we're going to default to descending, and you'll see why in a minute. But essentially, when we click, we're going to alternate it, and it'll set the first one to ascending. Anywho, sort column starts blank, because one thing you can't do here is set a variable to a column, mostly because there's no context. It doesn't know what list you're going from, so the columns aren't yet known. So we're just going to start with blank, which leaves us with a nice default. So the first thing we're going to need to do is set up our headers. And we're going to have to do that with some labels. So if we just drop some labels on top. So first things first, our columns. We have assignment, we have company ID, we have the date it was created, and we have the display name. Just whatever columns. I just wanted to have a few of them here so you could see them. And we are going to go ahead and set up our columns, our headers, sorry. And we will go ahead and do something semi-pretty. We'll do dark magenta, and we'll do bold. Okay, something we could see. Now, the trick to this is, of course, we want to be able to click our headers. So as one could understand, we're going to have to do something with our on select. So what we will do is on select, first thing we're going to do is set our var sort column, and we're going to set that to a text value. Like I said, we can't set it to a specific column, but we know the column, and we know our gallery has fixed columns. So the dynamic nature of this, we're hard coding things, but it's not that big of a deal because the gallery's columns aren't changing dynamically. We know those going in. So we set our column to a text that represents that column. All right, next we're going to have to set our var sort direction. And we'll do if var sort direction equals ascending. It's not in quotes. We're going to set it to descending, else ascending. Okay. So we're going to alternate our sort direction. So if it's ascending, set it to descending. If it's descending, set it to ascending. Easy peasy. And we close our set. So again, all we're doing every time we click it, we're just toggling the sort direction. All right. And the last thing we're going to need is an arrow. But first things first. Let's go ahead and do the rest of these. Employee. Okay. Yep. Make it neat, and we're good. So now we just go through the individual selects. Company. Created. And employee. Okay, so we have that. Now that we have our sort columns and directions set up, we need to utilize that within our gallery. So if we look at our items, let's say we just have the collection. So we'll start with adding our sort. So sort's easy, sort what, which column and what direction. So our column right now is text, and Power Apps has no clue what that means. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a switch statement. We're going to set it to var sort column, or look at var sort column, and then we'll just go to the values that we put in. We have assignment, and then from here we can start using the columns. So thankfully the switch statement is versatile enough here, and the sort accepts these as legitimate values, so we can go ahead and utilize this to take our text value and translate it into the column we want to use. So company, and we can see here, because we're translating text to the actual column, we don't have to be exact. There's created. Case matters. Now, of course, this is a people picker, so we will do it by display name. And now, the way switch works, of course, you need a default, and I'll just use ID for that. And then finally, we do var sort direction, and oops, close our sort. And that's it. From here, we'll be able to say, okay, we have our items. What column are we sorting by? What direction are we sorting? And that changes our items. We rerun on start. We have our data. Now let's take a look and see what happens. We see now we're clickable. And as we click, our columns react. Now the last thing we need is that visual indicator. So we're going to go here and we're going to add an icon. And we're just going to grab the up arrow. Put it here in the corner, find a size that you like, make it visible. And now we have to set two fields. First is the icon itself. So we will do if var sort direction equals ascending. We'll do arrow up, else arrow down. And lastly, we're going to do the visible. If var sort column equals assignment true, false. So again, we're going to look at which column was clicked based upon our text. From there, we do a copy, we do a paste, and all we have to do here is change our visible. And we just go through each of our columns, create it. You see we have that one visible. And finally, employee. We give that a test. We click employee. We have our arrow, created, arrow, company, arrow, assignment, arrow. And that's it. That gets us our sortable columns. It's a nice visual indicator, and it is something that my users appreciate, and hopefully yours do too. So hopefully that was useful for you. And it was a quick episode, but it's kind of an easy point. I'm sure others out there do this too, but this is the way I found that's most useful. Hope it's good for you. See you next time.